you. I appreciate that. I'm going to shut the door for you.
All right. So just think out loud. All right. Childhood obesity is my topic. So usually go to Google first. And let's see. And then children who are obese or overweight, is it growing at an alarm rate? Extra pounds put kids at risk for serious health problems, including diabetes, heart disease, and asthma. Childhood obesity also takes an emotional toll. Relationship between poverty and obesity. So basically, I would look up childhood obesity on Google, and then I would see like 4 or 5 different topics like childhood obesity in America, childhood obesity, causes diabetes, childhood obesity causes depression, and then or childhood obesity, the relationship between poor children and childhood obesity. So then I would pick one that like I think is interesting out of those things that pop up under childhood obesity. So I look at childhood obesity and poor children. Low income people are at a greater risk for overweight or obese kids. So then I would write that down because now I have a topic that I'm interested in. And so then I would start looking at different websites, preferably .edu, .orgs, .govs, and read what they say about poor kids and having childhood obesity. And then, so as I'm reading, the relationship based on general trends based on large national study. Wages are inversely related to BMI and obesity in a national representative sample of more than 6,000 adults, meaning those with low wages had increased BMI as well as increased chance of being obese. So I will read some basic information about it. Then I would look at poor child versus rich child obesity. Three times more likely in poorer families than rich ones. And these are my sources. That first one I went to, and then this one I'm going to, and I would just gather a whole bunch of different sources supporting what I'm trying to say. And then after I gather like 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever sources gathering what I want to say or an idea talking about what I want to say, then after that, I would Google poor child obesity myth. See what people say like, oh, it's not true. Let's clear some of these myths up so childhood obesity can be fixed. So I would just try to find some things like opposite of what I think. Like I think that poor kids are more likely to be obese. Like I've seen that and I agree with it. So then I would look at some people who say that's not true, which might be harder to find, but I want to know what the argument is. And I'll write that down, possibly as a source. And then I would actually have to read all of my sources completely from beginning to end, to find out, and I would highlight in there all of the key points that support what I'm trying to say to put into my paper later. And then I would start writing my paper, and then I would have to possibly find some more sources to like support the direction of the paper I want to go in. And then in case I find some information, because usually I find information on Wikipedia, and then I look at the bottom of it and see what their sources are. Then I would try to get some different types of sources. So if I have like 2 articles, I would try to get a book, and then I would try to get a website, and then I would try to get like a old newspaper, so that I have like a variety of types of sources. Even if I can find the information I need in one source, I'll try to find like 5 different sources that say the same thing. That way I can have 5 different sources to pull from instead of pulling everything from one source. Okay. So I'm writing for paper 4 on childhood obesity for my writing class. The first place I'll look for information is Google, because it helps me narrow down my focus on like childhood obesity is broad, and Google will help me look at a list of things that have to do with childhood obesity, and then it enables me to pick the one I think. Like if I just type in childhood obesity and just read down the list, it'll say Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, so I could talk about what the CDC has to say about it and what they plan on doing. I could talk about statistics. I can get all that kind of information, or I can keep going down and look at what it is, like what it does to the kids medically, like how it affects them as far as like diabetes or their life longevity. Are they more likely to be successful or not successful? Are they likely to have like long-term health issues? Are they more for they get cancer more often? Do they get whatever? I can just keep going down. And this is all just after typing one thing in Google, like a whole list of different sites. And if you look at each site, it says something different. It gives me a direction. Then overweight in children, American Heart Association. Let me see. What is child obesity? Childhood obesity determined largely by, and so it tells me like, and then at the bottom, search related to child obesity, articles, statistics, facts, causes, prevention, essay, definition, statistics. So that's where I would go to try to get my like, what am I going to talk about out of, try to list it for me, give me some ideas of what I can talk about. And then, so I'll click down there, I'll click like child obesity statistics. That's what I'll click, because that's what I'm more interested in. And then, so then here's like a little excerpt, childhood obesity, and I would write all these down. And then I would take this, so I would take this childhood obesity has obesity facts, Centers for Disease Control. I would read those and write them down, because those are the important things. I don't have to really read the entire article. And then I would take the article and make it one of my sources. So I choose that link because it talks about statistics, and I'm interested in that. And I will save this source because I know it's a good one. CDC, that's a good one. I keep up with information. I locate by, so I write everything down pen and paper. Everything's written down pen and paper. I'm a big jotter. I jot everything down. And then a lot of times I'll copy and paste information from particular articles or particular sources into Word. So I would do like this. Open up Word. And I will pick a new document. All right. And then I would just literally go in here, copy this information into here, and then under it, I would copy the website so that I know where I got it from, so I can go back to it later. And then I would just do that over and over again for like 5 or 6 different sources, copy and paste the information out of it, and then put it, this is where I got it from, under it, so that's all written down. And then that would help me to be able to, like, I would probably print this out. It would be like 3 pages. I would print it out, and that would be just reread it over and over again. And then I would put it away, and then I would write my paper. And so that way I don't copy it directly, but I absorbed it. I absorbed the information. I would organize it in my mind, and then I would write my paper that way. And then after my paper is pretty much written, and it's still kind of, it's really rough because I kind of just like blah, 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 all of my opinions onto the paper. And then after I blurt all my opinions and how I feel about everything onto the paper, then I would go through it and organize it, clean it up, copy and paste, put pieces in different places, put everything in order, and then I would go back and look at my sources, and then I would start citing it, doing my works cited page. Kind of backwards, but that's how I do it. And then that's it. I'll read over it again, make sure that's all good, and then maybe find 1 or 2 more sources to kind of like connect the dots, and then of like whatever I'm trying to say if things don't flow perfectly, and then that would be it. The next place I look for information, yeah. And if there's any time I read an article that I just don't get what they're trying to say, like if the words are, it's too many big words or it's too scholarly or whatever, then I'll just type in the topic into Wikipedia, or I'll type into Wikipedia the actual name of the article. And usually on Wikipedia, they'll have somebody like break it down in like layman's terms so that I understand what they're trying to say. And I wouldn't use Wikipedia as my source. I would use the scholarly article as my source, but I would use Wikipedia to help me get a better understanding of what the source is trying to say if it confuses me. Oh, a lot of times I'm really confused about what the teacher exactly wants, because each teacher has a different writing style and how they want you to write your paper. So usually I'll also, aside from my research, I'll Google like how to write a comparative essay, and then I'll let them explain it to me, because a lot of times the teacher, I don't understand what the teacher is saying, I don't get it. Or I'll Google how to write a thesis and get examples off of Google on how to write a thesis. Or literally sometimes you can say like, how do I write a comparative essays thesis? And it'll tell you exactly which words to say and then how to plug it in. And then I'll go to my thesaurus and change the words around a little bit. Let me see.